Court is in session and calls number 326-226. Case is style of State of Texas versus Kalen Daly. Daly, would you come forward? Mr. Daly, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Daly, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Daly, you may put your hand down. How are you doing, Mr. Daly?
I'm doing all right.
That's good. Mr. Daly, I have a couple of documents before me. The first document is titled Judge's Explanation of Rights to Defendants Without an Attorney. Mr. Daly, do you recognize this document?
What do you want me to-
Speak up.
I said, are you saying that I don't?
I'm asking you, do you recognize
Oh, yes,
this
sir.
document?
Yes, sir.
Is this your signature on this document?
Yes, sir.
Are these your initials on the line stating I want to apply for court-appointed attorney?
Yes, sir.
And I have another document here. This document is titled Affidavit of Indigence. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
On page 2 of the same document, Mr. Daly, there's a signature above the line that's titled Defendant Signature. Is that your signature?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Daly, prior to signing and initialing these two documents that I just mentioned, did you read the documents?
Yes, sir.
Did you understand what you read?
Yes, sir.
And is everything true and correct in these documents?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Daly, I've read your affidavit of indigence. You meet the eligibility requirements for the appointment of a court-appointed attorney. Your attorney that will be appointed to represent you is Attorney Jack Lawrence. You will be given information about how to contact Mr. Lawrence from our court coordinator. You're gonna stand on the 4X.
Yes, sir.
Once you get that information, you'll be free to go and you have a blessed day. All right, stand on the 4X. Give a plea. That's an add-on.
Yeah, that's.
Court is in session and clause number 328-270, case to style the State of Texas versus Michael Gales. Mr. Gales, would you please come forward? Your full name is Michael Gales?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Gales, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Gales, would you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth so help you God?
I do.
Mr. Gales, you may put your hand down. How are you doing, Mr. Gales?
All right, yes, sir.
I'm doing fine, thanks for asking. Mr. Gales, you're here represented by your attorney, Attorney Giles Cole. Attorney Cole, how you doing?
I'm doing great now.
I'm doing fine, thanks for asking. Mr. Gales, I have before me a document that is titled Information. This information alleges that on or about November 5th of 2020, while you were in Jefferson County, Texas, that you committed the Class A misdemeanor offense of resisting arrest, search, transportation. Mr. Gales, do you understand what you've been charged with?
Yes, sir.
And to this charge, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
Guilty.
Now, are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily? And are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Gales, I have before me a document that is titled Misdemeanor Plea Admonishments. Mr. Gales, do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
On page 2 of the same document, Mr. Gales, there's a set of initials on the line next to a box that's checked guilty. Are these your initials?
Yes,
And on the next page of the same document, there's a signature above the line that's titled Defendant. Is that your signature?
yes, sir.
I have another document before me. This document is titled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
Is that your signature above the line that's titled Defendant?
Yes, sir.
There are two boxes that are checked at the top of this document. The first box states that this is a plea bargaining case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
The second box states that you're waiving your right to an appeal, which means you're giving up your right to an appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
I also have another document here. This document, Mr. Gales, is titled Discovery Certification. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And is this your signature above the line that's titled Defendant?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Gales, prior to signing and initialing these documents, did your attorney, Mr. Cole, go over these documents with you?
Yes, sir.
And did you read and understand everything in these documents?
Yes, sir.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
State, I have before me State's Exhibit number 1. State, you like to offer State's 1?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objections? No objections. State's Exhibit number 1 will be admitted. Mr. Cole, you've advised and counseled Mr. Gales. Is there any evidence that he is currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
No, sir, Your Honor.
Mr. Gales, your attorney, Mr. Cole, has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with his representation?
Yes, sir.
Has he provided full, effective, and competent legal representation?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Gales, I will accept your plea of guilty. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea and waivers were freely and voluntarily given. I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State, do we have a plea bargaining agreement?
We do, Your Honor.
And what is that agreement?
The agreement is for 30 days time served with court costs to be taxed and retired.
Okay, Mr. Gales, the state is offering that you serve 30 days in Jefferson County Jail. However, you not have to serve any more time in the Jefferson County Jail in this case because you've already served 30 days in Jefferson County Jail. Therefore, you'll be given credit for time served. The court cost in this case, Mr. Gales, is $387, but you will not have to pay the $387 because the time that you spent in jail has already paid it off. Therefore, the court cost will be taxed and retired. Mr. Gales, do you understand the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
Do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
Yes, sir.
And do you accept the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Gale, I'll follow the plea bargaining agreement that you have entered into with the state. Mr. Gale, you're gonna stand on the X next to your attorney, and you're gonna follow the directions of our court clerk. Once you finish following her directions, you'll be free to go, and you have a blessed day.
You do as well, sir. Thank you.
And Mr. Cole, I think this is your only case. You'll be free to go as well, and you have a blessed day.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Well, hold on a minute.
Lift it up and then take, try it again. That's your copy for your, okay? Yeah, well, that's it.
Thank you.
Mr. Bullets.
Hey, Mr. Pickens, would you come forward?
How long?
Okay, Mr. Pickens. Okay, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Pickens, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Pickens, you may put your hand down. Now, Mr. Pickens, I read your, well, first of all, let me show you this document. You recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And that document is titled Judge's Explanation of Rights to Defendants Without an Attorney. And is this your signature on the line that's titled Defendant?
Yes, sir.
Or are these your initials on the line that's titled state, I want to apply for court-appointed attorney?
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Pickens, I also have another document here that's titled Affidavit of Indigence. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And on page 2 of this document, is this your signature above the line that's titled Defendant Signature?
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Pickens, prior to signing and initialing these documents, did you read the documents?
Yes, sir.
Did you understand what you read?
Yes, sir.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now, Mr. Pickens, I read the your affidavit, and it appears that, see, you work at, well, you work, I'm not gonna say where you work. You work, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And it apparently you make about anywhere from 1,000 to 2,400 a month,
Yes, sir.
all right? Take home,
Yes, sir.
okay, and you saying with your bills, which is about 1,540 a month, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If, and I think you work 15 to 37 hours, I guess, a week,
Yes, sir.
been working there about 5 months. Seem like you have an excess of about, if you're getting 2,400, it's an excess of about $860 a month.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you have a bank account,
Yes, sir.
so you have a savings account?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Not gonna, I just kind of figured that. I'm not gonna ask you how much you have in your savings account, but it apparently, based on the figures that we have here, seem like you would, you don't meet the eligibility requirements for appointment of court-appointed attorney because you have the ability to hire an attorney. Okay?
Yes, sir.
So what we're going to do, I'm going, at this time, your request for court-appointed attorney will be denied at this time. Give you an opportunity to talk to a couple of attorneys. And if you're unable, then we'll come back in and revisit. Okay, so at this time, we're gonna reset this case to give you an opportunity to hire an attorney, okay? You're gonna stand on the forex and you're gonna stand in front of our court coordinator. And once you give your reset, you'll be free to go and you have a blessed day. Court is in session in cause number 331-234. Case is style of state of Texas versus Jeremiah Pierce Michael. Mr. Michael, would you please come forward? Would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Michael, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
You may put your hand down. Mr. Michael, your full name is Jeremiah Pierce Michael.
Pierce Michelle.
Oh, your last name is Michelle.
Yes, sir.
Okay, how you doing, Mr. Michelle?
Good.
Mr. Michelle, I have before me a document that is titled Information. It's also, it also contains information that states that on or about November 14 of 2021, while you were in Jefferson County, Texas, operating a motor vehicle in a public place, that you committed the Class B misdemeanor offense of driving while intoxicated. Mr. Michelle, do you understand what you've been charged with?
Yes, sir.
And to this charge, Mr. Michelle, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
Guilty.
Now, you're pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
And are you pleading guilty because you are guilty? Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, Mr. Michelle, I have before me another document. This document is titled this misdemeanor plea admonishments. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
On page 2 of the same document, Mr. Michelle, are these your initials?
Yes, sir.
Now, you first, well, I need his, okay. Let's do this here. Now, this document that I have before me is judge's explanation of rights of defendants without an attorney. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And is this your signature on the line that's titled Defendant?
Yes, sir.
And are these your initials on the line that states, I want to waive my right to an attorney and represent myself?
Yes, sir.
Also, I have before me a document that is titled Waiver of Counsel for Purposes of Entering a Guilty Plea or Proceeding to Trial. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And is this your signature above the line that's titled Defendant?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Michelle, I have before me a document that is titled Misdemeanor Plea Acknowledgement. Plea admonishment, you previously acknowledged that you recognize this document. On page 2 of this document, there are a set of initials on the line, that the initials are JM, and they're on a line that titled guilty. Did you place your initials on this document?
Yes, sir.
On the second line, the second set of initials is below a paragraph that is titled Discovery Admonishments, and it is on a line next to a statement that states, I do not request discovery of the evidence. I waive my right to request discovery in this case and chose to enter a plea of guilty or no contest. Would you place your initials on this document?
Yes, sir.
On page 3 of the same document, there's a signature above the line that is titled Defendant. Is that your signature?
Yes, sir.
And on the next document, this document is titled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
Is this your signature above the line that's titled Defendant?
Yes, sir.
There are 2 boxes that are checked at the top of this document. The first box that's checked states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
The second box that's checked states that you're waiving your right to an appeal, which means you're giving up your right to an appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Michelle, prior to signing and initialing all of these documents that I have just mentioned, did you read the documents?
Yes, sir.
And did you understand what you read?
Yes, sir.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
Okay. State, I have before me State's Exhibit number 1. State, you like to offer State's 1?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Michelle, the state is offering State's Exhibit number 1 to be used as evidence against you in your case. State's Exhibit number 1 is a document that you acknowledge that has misdemeanor plea admonishment on page 1. On page 2, there are your 2 sets of initials that you have acknowledged. And on page 3, it has your signature above the line that's titled Defendant that you acknowledge. The state would like to use this document as evidence in your case. Is it all right for the state to use this document as evidence in your case?
Yes, sir.
Okay. No objections. State's Exhibit number 1 will be admitted. Mr. Michelle, is there any evidence that you are currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. Michelle, I will accept your plea of guilty. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea of guilty and waivers were freely and voluntarily given. And I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what is that agreement?
1 year deferred adjudication, $300 fine, 40 hours community service,
$300 fine plus court costs, 40 hours.
and then ignition interlock device, DWI education class.
DWI ed,
Yes, sir, and a drug and alcohol assessment.
drug and alcohol assessment. Assessment, okay. Let me see, this occurred November 14th, 2021, so it's after that date. It's after September 1st of 2019. 42. Okay, 408. Let's see.
And the breath test, Your Honor, was 0.118 and 0.128. It was under the 0.15, just.
Okay, now, Mr. Michelle, do you have a commercial driver license? CDL?
No, sir.
Okay. Let me see, this is below 0.15. This was after. Two.
September 1st, 2019.
Mm-hmm. That's the date. Yeah. Let's see, 49. Yes, September 1st, 2019. So it's after that date. Okay, like you meet the eligibility requirements. So, okay. Mr. Michelle, the state is offering that you serve 1 year deferred adjudicated probation. During this 1 year probationary period, you'll be required to pay a fine of $300 plus court costs of plus court costs of $422, which comes to a total of fine and court costs of $722. You'll be required to pay a probation fee of $60 each month, or your analysis fee of $15 each month. You will be required to pay the Jefferson County DWI education class and initial evaluation fee of $125 on the day of the plea. Should a further evaluation be needed, you'll be required to pay an additional $50. Now, the total amount of your monthly installments, that is the total amount that you have to pay each month while you're on probation, is $145 per month. Will you be able to pay the $145 each month?
Yes, sir.
You will also be required to perform 40 hours of community service. You will be required to attend and complete a DWI education class. We have a drug and alcohol assessment and install a DWI interlock device on any vehicle that you own or operate. Now, Mr. Michelle, how old are you?
23.
Oh, 23, okay. Now, you also be required to adhere to other standard terms and conditions of your probation. Oh, you're a US citizen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, Mr. Michelle, do you understand the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
And do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
Absolutely.
And do you accept the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Michelle, I'll follow the plea bargaining agreement that you have entered into with the state. The court is going to defer a finding of guilt, place you on deferred probation for 1 year, and with the terms that you have agreed to with the state of Texas. Now, Mr. Michelle, on violation of a condition of your deferred adjudicated community service supervision imposed under Article 42A.104 of the Texas Code of Criminal Procedure, the defendant may be arrested and detained as provided by law in Article 42A.751. The defendant is entitled to a hearing limited to the determination by the court of whether the court will proceed with an adjudication of guilt on the original charge. The court may not proceed with an adjudication of guilt on the original charge if the court finds that the only evidence supporting the alleged violation of a condition of deferred adjudicated probation, community supervision, is the uncorroborated results of a polygraph examination. The determination to proceed with an adjudication of guilt on the original charge is reviewable in the same manner as a revocation hearing conducted under Article 42A.751D in a case in which the adjudication of guilt was not deferred. And also pursuant to Article 42A.110, after adjudication of guilt, all proceedings, including assessment of punishment, pronouncing a sentence, granting of community supervision, and the defendant's appeal continues as if adjudication of guilt had not been deferred. Now, Mr. Michelle, if you successfully complete your probationary period, this case will not appear on your record as a conviction, and you may qualify for non-disclosure. You can talk to an attorney about non-disclosure. Now, Mr. Michelle, you're going to stand on the X in front of our court clerk. Once you follow her directions and you finish following her directions, you'll be free to go, and you have a blessed day.
You too. Thank you.
Hold on.
Your right comfort.
me do this here. Mr. Laura? So this is cause number 331196. Would you please come forward? With, as Lionel Laura? Okay. Okay, Mr. Laura, your case is going to be reset.
Okay.
Go ahead and reset Mr. Laura case to, give him a reset date. How much time do you need? We'll reset it a week? Okay. Well, just give him a standard reset,
To be March, that's fine.
I guess. Yeah, that's the nearest date we can get.